The Town and Country Planning Division will celebrated World Town Planning Day on the 8th of November under the theme Home Starts with Planning. This morning, let me welcome Jesse Robinson, Town Planner 1, and Bruce Charles, Town Planner 2, who join us on the set this morning to tell us a little bit about what that means and what it entails. Good morning to you both and
Good
welcome.
morning.
Welcome,
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
Thank you guys for waking up early and joining us on the set. Definitely appreciate it. Straight out the gate, Jesse's like, hey, this early thing is not for me. But I appreciate you being here and being here on time as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let me start with you, Bruce. Tell me, how did the Town and Country Planning Division celebrate World Town Planning Day?
Well, Town Country celebrated World Town Planning Day via webinars discussing the principles of planning and the positive impacts of planning on the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had a retreat with planning and planning staff at various locations, also with the CDA. And that's how they celebrated Town Planning Day at this period in time.
Okay, nice. Jesse, tell me, what is considered planning permission?
Okay, so very basic general terms, planning permission is required to carry out any form of development.
Okay.
And development in this case, it refers to the 5 categories of development stated in the Town Country Planning Act, which is building operations, sustainable development, subdivision of land,
right.
Mining, engineering, change of use, advertisements, billboard, and all that stuff.
You need to change of use, as in if I'm changing from residential to commercial or vice versa.
Anyway.
And you said billboards as well?
Billboards and advertisement, yeah. It's also
as in if I put a billboard in my yard.
If you want to have a party and you're advertising for something somewhere, you're putting up a billboard, a large billboard, like an electronic billboard of any kind.
Right.
You require planning permission. You have to get planning permission first.
So
that's something that's not very widely known.
I did not know that at all. So this is a surprise to me.
Advertisement also requires planning permission from Town Country Planning.
And this is if I'm doing an electronic billboard, or is this if it's a regular billboard as well?
Electronic billboards and regular billboards as well.
Banners, anything that is being displayed.
Banners too?
Yes, banners that are being displayed in the public domain require permission from Town Country.
I feel like he's never heard this before.
I have never heard that before. I didn't realize you were involved in that part of things at all.
Yes, we are.
All right, so how do I even begin to make an application, Bruce, for a banner?
A banner? Well, first, you submit the details of the banner and the location and the duration of how long you want the banner or advertisement to be up.
Right.
And then you submit a document and application to Town Country and review and see if that area is suitable for that banner. And when you provide the approvals, then you forward that to the regional corporation and the mayor of that area.
Well, this sounds like a very lengthy process.
Well, not really, especially for carnival period when we have, so much requirements. We do find ways to fast track things, especially like carnival or election periods.
Right.
We do have methods to like fast track.
All right, but the only way to make an application is if I do it with a document in person, or is there a platform or portal?
So specifically for advertisements, advertisement is not currently on DevelopTT right now, but it is going to be in the very near future.
All right, but tell me about using DevelopTT then. What can I use it for?
Right, so for the other applications, you can submit an outline or final application, and that will be for all your other types of development, which would include subdivision of land, building a house, for a commercial use or doctor's office or anything like that, change of use of land if you want to create an agricultural site, all those type of stuff.
And I can do that on DevelopTT.
On DevelopTT.
As an app or website?
It's a website. I'm not quite sure if it's an app form ready just yet, but they are working on that part as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce, why should I get planning permission?
For one, planning permission is part of the law under the Town Country Act of 1969.
Yeah.
So it's good to
It is.
But is it enforced?
Yes, it is. We do.
And there are ways that if you don't apply for permission, it could impact you financially in the long run.
Yeah, in the long run.
So it's wise to get proper plan permission for any form of development.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So first and foremost, it is illegal if you don't. But,
All right. So situations where like people who would have built, I don't know, let's say before 1969, or the property is there, they didn't get permission. What happens in that case? Tell me, you said it would cost you financially in the long run, right? But what is that process like?
You want to? Okay, I can take this one.
Okay.
So before 1969, the Act came into power at 1969. We do, however, have grace periods up till 1972. So if your
much
property,
grace period there.
giving people time to, to come into conformance. So if your structure was built before that period, we tend to not, like, we wouldn't necessarily enforce on your property if perchance, it does not conform to our standards and policy and stuff like that.
Right.
However, if you are coming for something in the future, let's say you had the house built in 1967, but then in 2005 you wanted to do some kind of addition to the house, that's when you have to bring the property into conformance.
So I would have to do over the whole property if I want to do that addition.
Property, just the designs has to be in conformance with the current regulations. If you can prove that what existed before, like there's no change to that, then fine. We accept aerial photographs, old maps and all that stuff. Tenancy receipts just to prove that this structure was there before 1969.
And if the building is, so even if the building has been erected, it's been there before, then we have to adjust to the design specifications.
To the design specifications of the current
if you want to.
Of the current policy.
Does this policy apply to squatters?
Well, so
I love that. I love that pause. I love that pause.
So squatters, we tend to leave that to the LSA because they are the agency that regulates squatter regularization and all of that stuff. But they would consult with us for varying standards that they could apply to squatter settlements.
You mentioned sustainable economic development by accident just now.
Yeah, I did.
But tell me what role does planning have towards that, and how important is spatial planning? Bruce, you want to take this one?
Well, the use of policy and standards and how they zone the country to the various uses like commercial, residential, and conservation, that will assist in sustainable development of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
So by zoning some places for commercial activity and the concentrated uses there, and preserving some areas for not to be touched and to leave as wildlife, that is assisting economic development and sustainable development simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, so when we talk about the separation, is it that we don't encourage commercial and residential in the same areas, or?
Some areas can get commercial and residential in the same areas, but some areas has zoned for particular purposes based on the intensity of use. Some areas, if it's highly commercial, we don't promote proper residential development close to those areas.
Why not?
Because it could be a conflict of interest, noise, pollution. You don't want to wake up in your house and hear a bar making noise, a bank machine rolling next to you all the time.
No, and I only ask because when you go to certain, like when you go to the developed countries, as the case may be, you often see places where it's both, right? Where we have, maybe on the ground floor, you have commercial activity, and then you have a high-rise building with people living in it, and it adds to the city life, in my humble opinion. Because
so for cities is where we would usually promote what we call mixed-use development. So Port of Spain, Arima, San Fernando, those places. Along main roads, Eastern Main Road, like we will promote mixed-use development. Certain places are zoned for industrial areas like Point Lisas, but you would find that we would also permit commercial uses because industrial being the overarching policy would still serve, these other uses will still serve the industrial use. So we do in some places promote the mixed use. However, in rural communities, it would be more equitable, more feasible, more planning and environmentally sustainable to maintain the natural environment. So which is why we would stick to the residential uses in rural places.
Okay. So I guess that's also in tandem with supporting environmental management.
Exactly. So rural, residential, agriculture, all those things that require low intensity developments is where we would keep those policies as is. But cities, we tend to, mix developments, as you said.
Tell me about spatial planning, because is that the same thing that we're talking about, or is that when you have a set size for a house and we have a certain distance?
Spatial planning deal with the use of the land and also deals with standards for built development as well.
Okay.
So spatial guidelines and spatial plan could say how large an acreage for farming could be or how small a parcel of land for residence could be. And then it could be zoned down to say how big a commercial building could be. And then it tell you the standards to how to build a residential home. So it encompasses both use of land and design of buildings.
All right, I have a hard question, right? How often do you all review the policies when it comes to land development? Because I know historically places like Arango as was supposed to be just purely agricultural land.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we go to Aranguez and it barely have any agriculture.
Yeah, it's highly commercialized.
So then is that approved by town? Is that approved by town and country planning division? Or is it that we have a mixed parcel of things that need to be dealt with there as well?
We definitely have some areas that we need to cover, you know, both in Trinidad and in Tobago, because Tobago, a lot of the lands are zoned for agricultural use. But, you know, considering the hilly terrain of Tobago, that's where most people live. It's kind of impossible to just keep those areas just strictly for agricultural use. So that's something that we are constantly reviewing. However, the process of, you know, compound the policies, doing the research and all that stuff, it does take some time, you know, getting in front of the cabinet for approval and all that stuff. It does take some time, but in the meantime, we do make recommendations, you know, to minister and all that stuff to promote certain types of development, depend on the activity and the trends for the current year. So Arango is where it would have been earlier on the zone for agricultural use because of the high activity in that area. We did need to find ways to create policies that would not directly affect the Coronis Farm, which runs on the south side of here, right, and all that stuff. So it is not necessarily illegal. It's just that these things are done in consultation with other personnel, with other agencies, in tandem with getting our policies in front of the minister and then to cabinet and then for approval.
But does it all happen at the same time, or is it the cart before the horse, or the horse in front of the cart? Or?
It's according.
Is it what?
It's according to the situation and what the development we see on the site.
I know, but tell me which is more common. I mean, being people who y'all work in the division, right? Which is more common? Is it that people come to you and say we need permission to do this, or is it that they come and you'll realize, but wait, hold on. What's all this happening here? Let's go and adjust the suit, or let's go and deal with it from a whatever legal standpoint, as the case may be.
It can be a mixture of both. In some cases, after review of applications and what we see on site, and realize the development has been expansive, we do a policy review and forward to the minister, or in some cases, due to the numerous development and complaints on a site, and we see that it goes contrary to the policy, we decide that a policy review is required and a change might be necessary based on what we see on the site. So it's 50-50.
Yeah, and let me just add to what he said. A lot of cases where, because as you know, the minister has power over development in this country, right? So in cases where something does not conform to policy, and let's say that Tonga country refuses it, the applicant has the ability to seek an appeal. So they would appeal our decision before the appeal panel, and they will take their recommendations to the minister. So it's not Tonga Country alone is the overarching body or the minister, you know, but we do consider other agencies as well.
Fantastic. If people want to get in touch with the division, how can they do so?
Well, the DevelopTT app and Tonga Country Planning website and the Ministry of Planning website have all the contact information of the relevant officers.
And we also, I see some numbers rolling on the screen here, so if people want to call, they can also feel free to call.
Feel free to call or email our offices as well.
Yes, the offices direct.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Mr. Bruce Charles, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Ms. Jessie Robinson, thank you very much for joining us.
Much.
And thank you for the work that you do. I'm sure it's not an easy job that you have at Town and Country Planning Division, especially in this beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So I hope you have a great day today, and thank you for sharing the information with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Stick around.
When they try to take me for another day,